At first I come up with the premise, which is just a loose, it's just a kind of a disjointed idea. Book 17 was a body found with a brand on her hip. That was it. And I knew it was connected to the medical examiner. That's it. That's all I had. Then I do the crime's backstory. Like I said, I write a document that is everything that led up to the point where Josie steps in. Then I do an outline from, of what would be the actual book, starting with Josie finding the body. I talk that over with my editor. We go back and forth, we tweak it a little, and then I sit down and write just a really terrible, rushed, dirty first draft. And then we go from there. And I write 3 books a year. In Face Her Fear, Josie is at a retreat to process her trauma, is in a very remote location. There's no internet access. There's extremely limited cell service. She's on the top of a mountain. They don't have their vehicles. She's staying in a cabin that has a wood burning stove, which she hates. I mean, she's really roughing it and Face Her Fear. So the peril is, of course, that she finds a dead body and she has no support at this point. Usually she relies on her team very much to help her solve a crime, but here she can't even get in touch with the local authorities. And it's actually not even her jurisdiction. So she's faced with this kind of conflict of, I'm really just a guest here, but I found this body and I'm also a law enforcement officer. It's not my jurisdiction, but if I don't protect the scene and, do some investigating, all could be lost when law enforcement does get here. And the important thing about putting her in jeopardy for me, to give my readers, is that it's just very suspenseful for them. It's compelling, it's entertaining, and it gives her, as always, a chance to grow as a person. And in Face Her Fear, she's very much on her own with just her wits, and that's all. It sounded like a great idea at the time, and then it was very challenging to write because so many of the books rely on procedure. That is kind of how I plot them out, is what would the case solving look like if you were really a detective. But for Face Her Fear, all of the clues were pretty much psychological in nature. And so again, the only thing that she has to work with are her wits, and she's questioning everyone there and their motivations. Are they lying about where they were when she believes that this person was killed? And so she's just out there in a way that she's never been before, trying to solve a crime. I try with every book to get better, but there's some books that really I feel like help me to level up a little bit. And Face Her Fear was definitely one of them. Like I said, I struggled with it, and my husband kept saying to me, "You're going to feel really good about yourself when this is done, because then you'll know that you were able to do this and that you can do it." Josie's back with her team. Thank God, the readers really wanted her to be back with her team. And she gets called to, in her dying secret, she gets called to the scene of a fatal car accident. When she gets there, she finds a driver and a passenger. Both of them have actually been stabbed. The driver has defensive wounds on her forearms. Has a head injury, so she's disoriented. The passenger has still the weapon sticking out of her abdomen. And from what Josie can see, it looks as though she was tortured for a very long time. The challenge is that Josie can't tell where they came from because of the remoteness of where the accident happened. And the passenger has no identification. She's not in APHIS, which is the fingerprint database. Her DNA is not in CODIS, so they don't know who she is. She's just a Jane Doe. And so Josie's challenge is figuring out, who is this woman? How's she connected to the driver? Where did they come from? Where is the crime scene? Where did the stabbing happen? And what led up to all of this?